Okay, great. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining this meeting and enrolling to this session. I'm really excited to deliver this session. This is my second, the open webinar. The first one I delivered in the month of December, and now probably I have planned to deliver at least one webinar every month. So thank you so much, and I'm really excited, and I hope that I will be able to do the justice to your expectation. And let's get started. And I hopefully, we will try to make this a valuable as well as the engaging session for all of us. So with that, I'll present my screen. We have very tight schedule, 1.5 hours of time, wherein 1 hour of time we'll spend on the presentation and the last 30 minutes we'll spend on the question and answer. So I hope all of you would have joined with an expectation and hope that you will try to understand and get some detail about the business analyst role. So I'll try my level best. So this presentation I've created based on my 15 to 17 years of experience. So a quick introduction like this: Ramesh Chuk, been into this industry for more than 17 years, out of which I've spent more than 15 years only into the card and payment industry. Uh, Played multiple type of roles, started my journey with probably 15 years ago as a developer, then been into the SME role, then BA solution architect, and throughout my career, while the designation keep on changing, the role keep on changing. Like the designation keep on changing, but the role was hardly there was any change for me. Just a minute, let me see. I've already opened. Why? Okay. So business analyst role is something that was so close to my heart. Okay, because throughout my career, though I keep on changing different designations, but I was always into the solutioning side, wherein I contribute to a role or to a product, or probably any company or any kind of the work that I've been doing. My role was always close to working on some requirements, be it product requirement or any customer related requirement, understand that from domain perspective, product perspective, different aspects, and then probably start working on the solutions, closely work with the engineering, and then finally deliver that, test it, and then go live. That's the cycle most of you would have seen in your career also. But business analyst role is something that I have personally seen multiple types of variations from one company to another company, maybe a product based, technology based, or a consulting based companies. And that's the reason I decided to pick this up and probably see and put all my experience of last 15 years into one presentation and try to probably give that knowledge or cascade that knowledge to all of us. I would try to explain this to you in a very layman terms, plus the project life cycle, so that you guys throughout the conversation that we have for the next 1 hour try to correlate it with your experience. That probably, if you are into the business analyst role, even then you'll be able to relate it. If you are not into that kind of role, still you'll be able to relate, because we'll be talking about typically a project life cycle, wherein we'll try to explain the entire life cycle of a business analyst role or a QA role or probably any developer role. So if I start a project, for example, from this line, and if I say like this is the entire project life cycle, so the first phase of any project is where I just want to say this is a requirement gathering phase, wherein you get a new requirement, a new fundamentals that you have to develop, probably a new domain request or a product request, or probably any kind of customer or a product roadmap request. So that becomes a requirement for you. Okay, think of you as an individual right now who is working in a company, not just that the business analyst, because this is the journey that everybody would see from probably in any kind of company if you're working on. So if you are here, wherein you are receiving a requirement from any customer or a product, the first phase is when you understand what exactly is this, why it is needed, right? And who is asking us to do this. So you have plenty of questions. You try to understand the requirement, you document it. Then you start the next phase is where you probably do a kind of high level of solutioning and understand, if I were to solutionize it in the product that I'm working on, with any kind of product, what kind of high level solutioning it can be. Okay, probably let's move on to the next one. If high level solutioning is done, the person who has raised the request to you, the requirement to you. It can be a customer, it can be a product as well, or any product manager, or anyone, or any senior stakeholder in the company. The person who has raised this requirement, you have to go back to them and explain them what is the estimate of it. What's the high level of estimate of it? What could be the potential impact on the existing system, right? So you understood the requirement, then you're doing the high level solutioning, and the next that what you're going to do is probably you will understand the impact assessment on that. So what impact this particular requirement will have on the existing product or the roadmap. So during this third phase that I'm outlining here is the impact assessment. So you try to understand what kind of impact this particular functionality can bring to the existing set of product or functionality which are already live. So you do a high level of, again, impact assessment also. The last thing that you do is the estimate of it. So estimate of means, like, let's suppose after these three steps, if you are able to make a decision, yes, we have to make some changes in the system. How many days of efforts, how many number of man days, or probably number of hours it would require for us to develop. So you'll do that high level of estimate. And then probably you go back to this customer or whosoever has given you this request or the requirement. They'll probably help you understand or help you give you a sign off whether they are okay to this kind of effort estimation, the price quotation, that whatever, the commercial that you probably would have submitted them. So think of it like there are 4 different cycles here, or the 4 different steps that I'm trying to cover here. You consider this as always a requirement gathering phase, because during this process, all you're doing is analyzing the requirement. You are taking some high level estimation decisions based on the solutions, based on the impact assessment, and then you are finally going ahead with the high level estimation going back to the customer or the initiator of the requirement. So think of this phase of the project is a requirement gathering phase, where you are seeing 4 different type of journey. We will talk about every single journey, in detail. After that, what you do is you start doing the detail level solution. Detail level solution means now it is time you have received a sign off for this requirement. Customer is okay, whosoever has raised the request, they have given you approval. Now you're going ahead with the detailed solutioning. If this requires configuration change, code change, API change, front-end change, operation change, like this kind of analysis and this kind of high detail level solutioning, you start doing it. So after the detail solutioning, probably you start with the proceed with the development. After development, we have testing, and after testing, we have the go live. So think of it like a typical project life cycle that anybody would see in the industry would go through bare minimum these kind of steps. Requirement gathering, in which I can say there are 4 segments I'm giving you, the 4 journey. You understood the requirement, documented it, and did a high level solutioning, impact assessment, effort estimation, and get a sign off. You give the requirement probably to the next level. Now you're doing detailed solutioning. Then you have development, testing, and the go live. So throughout our discussion, I will help you understand the role of the business analyst will vary based on the company that you are working on. In some of the company, you will see the business analyst role will end here with the requirement. They don't engage in the detail level solutioning. In some company, you will see business analyst will continue with the detailed solutioning as well. Okay. And then probably in some company, you will see that after the detailed solutioning, also the business analyst role goes till the go live. It has to, basically be a person who is actually responsible for a kind of end-to-end delivery. After certain, maybe, a milestone, the business analyst start wearing a raw hat of probably a program manager. Think of this way. And that's how you will see a different company, different type of role is defined for a business analyst. But with respect to the domain, card payment domain or a payment domain, we will deep dive into that particular segment of the domain, wherein you can understand, I as a business analyst role right now, where am I playing that role with respect to the project life cycle that we are in. So you'll be easily able to understand. So first of all, try to understand the role of business analyst is someone who is there to bridge a gap or be a bridge from the customer till the internal stakeholder and then finally go live. So you will see the business analyst person can be there in any different type of life cycle of the project. It can be the first phase, it can be the second phase. Second thing I want to call out is, if you have understood this cycle: requirement, solutioning, development, testing, and go live. The next thing that I want you to keep this in mind is, a business analyst typically in any organization will be a person who will be hyperactive in this phase. Hyperactive or proactive, I would say, because this is the primary role of a business analyst: gather the requirement, provide a solution, work with engineering, work with QA team, deliver it, and then after go live, hand it over to the operation team. So this phase, you can call it as a proactive phase for the business analyst, because in this phase, the BA would be expected to deliver something, either documentation, requirement, solutioning, user acceptance testing, test cases. Some kind of output will be expected from a business analyst in this segment, in this first half of the project. Whereas the second half of the project, when the development starts, testing starts, and you go live, you should assume that a business analyst will play a passive role. Passive role means like he would be kind of in a support mode, would not be active, where the output is expected in form of which will be utilized. It will be maximum in the form of probably provide the support for how this functionality works, provide this issue, the L1 level of support or L2 level of support. So this is the foundational journey that I just wanted to touch base for the first few minutes. Now, throughout the session, you will see we'll be, going through this entire journey only. So who is a business analyst? First of all, we understood is the person who might interact with the customer. But the only thing I want to, convey to you is, in some organization, you will see that a business analyst is a person who is not into the customer facing role. You might see this because there are different business or a sales kind of team, or business technology kind of team, or a customer support team. They may have a different role. It can be maybe a solution architect, it can be a solution design, or it can be probably, a customer success person. So different team, different organization can have a different name, but ultimately the person who is gathering the requirement from the customer, I want to say that you should assume he's playing a kind of role of a business analyst, because he is understanding the business requirement. He's analyzing the business requirement. So if your role is probably a product, maybe a customer support person, or a business technical, support person, or probably a solution architect, but if you are engaging with the customer or internal stakeholders and analyzing the business requirement, you should assume that your role is close to a business analyst role. So please try to use this analogy. Don't just get confused between the probably a role or the designation that different companies are giving. So if you are wearing a different kind of role in a company, but outside you want to apply for a BA role, so you just have to understand, if you are analyzing the business requirement, it means you are a business analyst. But yes, after requirement gathering, what exactly you are doing in the company, that is defined by your organization, the company you're working in, the kind of culture they follow, the kind of product structure they follow, the project structure they follow. But let's try to split the requirement phase, as I told you, 4 different pillar. The first pillar of the requirement gathering is where a business analyst is extremely active, I would say, and extremely careful, because this is the phase when a business analyst becomes a customer facing person from an organization perspective, because on day-to-day basis he might interact with the customer to understand their need, to understand their requirement. And as a business analyst, your role is to understand customer requirement and start documenting it. Again, depending on what kind of structure or what kind of standard you follow. In some company, you might see a customer requirement document. In some company, you might see a business requirement document. Some may call it as a functional requirement document. They may use BRD and FRD both. In some organization, you will see they are just creating a statement of work. In some company, you see even from day one, you are creating a product requirement document. So again, different terminology, different type of product names, you are seeing that. but you need to understand what exactly you are doing in this phase. You are just documenting the customer requirement. Now, whether the document name is the BRD, FRD, FSD, whatever it is, it's okay. It's okay to have that document as long as you understand the role, as long as you know that what you're supposed to do, whatever documentation name is expected from you, be it organization 1 or 2, so you can just produce that typical type of document. Most of the scenario you will see the BRD is the document that is predominantly used industry wide, wherein you define all the different type of requirements. In some cases, you again map the business requirement to the functional requirement also, and then you map the functional requirement to the product requirement. But if you know the concept, if you understand what you're supposed to do, then I think it's just a matter of understanding the customer requirement and try to documenting it. Okay, so here we are. So in this phase, when I'm saying that a customer interaction means a business analyst would be on daily basis or on the need basis, would be interacting with the customer over the call, over the email, and try to document their need, what exactly they want, what your customer demands. Okay, who is the persona? So you will see throughout this discussion I would be using a philosophy of 4WH word, which I will not tell you now, I will tell you at the end of the session. Typically, I use a philosophy of 4WH word: who, what, why, and how. So the first 3, who, for whom you're doing it, okay, who is the persona, what is the requirement, and why it is needed. So you would see that a business analyst has to get an answer for these 3WH word in the requirement gathering phase itself, so that your how part becomes easy. The more stronger you are in the first 3WH words, the more solution, like on a solution side, you will get a stronger command finally with respect to your product or APIs, whatever you are integrating it. Okay, so now moving on to the the next part. The first part you understood, it's a customer interaction as well as the documentation requirement and all the BRD, FRD kind of document that you have to create. What is the next thing that you have to do as a business analyst? So you have to keep that while you are documenting the customer need, customer may have 2 different kind of expectation from you. May have. The first expectation that customer will have is the product. Why? Because customer is reaching out to you because you are selling something to them. You are selling a product to them. And now either they want to enhance this, or they want some probably a new functionality, or they want the complete solution of your product. Could be possible, right? So first reason that customer is reaching out to you is the product. If you're working in company A, they have a product A, means they want your product. And second thing is the domain. The domain means the logical, the combination of rules which defines the business. That is the domain. Like in credit card, you have card payment domain. In core banking, you have probably SEPA or different cross-border payments. That's again a payment domain or a banking domain. So 2 things are important here. The first thing is the product knowledge, and second thing is the domain knowledge. Now you are into a scenario, probably you join an organization where you don't know about the product at all. You don't know anything about the product. All you know is you only know the domain. So when you know the domain more than the product, your first responsibility in that organization as a business analyst is to try to get a good grasp on the product expertise. You have to learn the product as soon as possible, because without product, you can't do much, because you are into a role where you are expected to deal with the customer. And if you are dealing with the customer, you should know the product. Yes, for the initial phase, you might be able to probably, manage the product with the help of your domain knowledge, right? But at the end, the customer would ask you which parameter, which API, which functions, what kind of screen it is, where's the operations center, where's the support center, where's the report center, right? So customer will ask you the question that only a product expert can answer. And that's why in the requirement gathering phase, which I was saying here, the customer interaction, this is an extremely important point, that you should be on top of product, And then domain. Of course, domain is something that you learn throughout the career. If you're working in company A, domain remains same. If you move to a bank, domain remains same. Domain is not changing. So you are gaining domain knowledge throughout your experience, but you gain the product knowledge while working in a particular company or in a product. But this is equally important. As a business analyst, I would strongly recommend, if you are working in any product-based company, please try to focus on the product knowledge. Domain you would definitely know or you have to learn, but if you don't know the product, it would be really hard to basically sustain or retain in any kind of product-based company. Now, the first thing is completed, right, wherein I spoke about the requirement gathering. So you have understood customer requirement, okay? And now finally it is time for you to do the high level of estimation. But how you can do the high level of estimation? If you don't know the product, will you be able to do the high level of estimation? No, you will never be able to do that. So what should be your approach in that case? So if you need to do the high level of solutioning and the impact assessment, and you are new to the organization, okay, as a business analyst, you have to basically collaborate with different people, different teams, depending on the organization type, organization size, organization structure, and the culture that they follow. So the most important thing is, first of all, you understand and try to break down the requirement into different modules. Okay. Try to understand what kind of external dependency it may have. And then also understand what can be the size of the change. If this requirement, because you're just doing a high level of estimation, you're not doing a detailed estimation here. So you'll be able to do this analysis only if you know the product. Let's suppose you are in a situation that you joined a company newly, okay, recently. You don't know much about the product. So you have to be collaborative. You have to be, again, a curious mind and you have to be on a shameless. Shameless, why shameless? Because if you hesitate to ask, you will never be able to learn. So if you need to do these three kind of analysis, how would you do that? The best thing that you have to do is collaborate with these people, those who are already there in the organization, and those who can help you make a high level of estimation, because you have to share that with the customer. If you are not able to do that, ultimately you are not able to close the sign off part. You are not able to get a sign off on the requirement. So what you're going to do is, there can be a core SME team in the organization, those who are expert of the product. They can be product managers team, engineering team, compliance team, risk team, or QA team. These are the teams, those who will be, closely working on the product. So you have to be extremely collaborative with these kind of people in the organization and understand if they can help you, and try to at least get you a sense of these kind of bifurcation, these three type of bifurcation on your product requirement, so that you can kind of create a high level scope or a high level solution of the project requirement, and then try to estimate it. So once you are able to probably collaborate with people, you're moving towards a point wherein you can start understanding the requirement, start understanding the high level of solution. Then what you have to do is understand the impact on the existing system, because you understood requirement, you're a bit of comfortable now, you're a bit of comfortable with the product as well, because you took help from here and there, or you yourself already know the product, right, very well. You've been into a BA role or a kind of a similar kind of role for a couple of years in the organization, right? So in these kind of scenarios, the most important thing which you should never forget in any project is to perform an impact assessment or a gap analysis. Okay, so this will tell you or help you understand if there is any gap, first of all, in the understanding of the customer. They might come to you and ask you a parameter to enable a pre-authorization functionality. Okay, could be possible. But while you are doing an analysis, it can be a scenario that the pre-authorization is already enabled. Okay, or if you are working on any type of interface, probably a new ISO interface, ISO 20022 or ISO 8583. So if you already understand the interface, then you have to know that what kind of parameters or attributes or ISO data elements might be required to integrate with the external entity. If they have shared a specification with you, Is there any gap in their specification which might not fit in the product or the interface that you have from your product side, from your company side or your organization side? If you have a product P and you are interfacing with probably another interface, new interface I, this interface supports 100 data elements. Okay, here also you support probably 120, but there are around 20 data elements which are not supported here. You should do this gap analysis. If you don't do this, this is a business analyst role that probably you are understanding their interface. You know your interface already. Your company is this is your product, but this is not your. You got a specification. You tried to see that, okay, out of 120 data elements, it's something that we don't support. This becomes your high-level solution for your engineering team. Similarly, the impact on the existing system. Impact on the existing system means this product might be, or this interface might be used for debit card, credit card, different type of functionalities. Well, this change that you're proposing, okay, this may have 5 different type of changes. You are changing one of the data element 22, okay. Will this 22 have an impact on the existing system? Yes or no? If yes, what are all the areas which are getting impacted? Is okay, if you're changing 22, then you have to test probably, EMV based transaction. You have to test contactless transaction. You have to test, manual entry transaction. So all I'm trying to say is that if you are doing an high-level estimation or a high-level solution, the gap analysis and the impact assessment are the two crucial, I would say, areas that you should never forget. If you forget this, you might be in trouble later on during the project execution, wherein people, either developer are finding this gap, or a QA people are, or QA, someone testing from the testing team, someone is finding the gap. So it's better to take these precautionary actions, and then probably you take corrective actions at the right time. So what if you find such kind of gaps? Then immediately you have to discuss with your expert teams and try to just signal them, because I'm coming up with these kind of gaps. Customer has raised this requirement, and probably this can be the potential impact on our system. I might not be able to assess it in detail, but I need your help to probably figure it out from the development perspective or a product perspective if there are any changes, so that I can go back to the customer. Because the most important thing is, after the gap analysis, you have to do probably high level estimation, maybe 20 days or 40 days of effort, whatever effort is required, and you have to go back to the customer. So that's really important, and that's why I'm saying that the moment you are doing this requirement gathering process, going through this process of requirement gathering, then high level of estimations, solutioning, impact assessment, wherever you need help from any of the team members, like I have highlighted here, don't hesitate, go for it, and immediately ask a question. Because if you leave any gap in the requirement, then you will pay at the end of the session, at the end of the cycle, which can be either you will be lucky if tester have found it out, maybe the testing team, and you will be even more lucky if the development team have found those gaps. But you might feel unlucky if production system is giving you that as a return to your assessment. So keep in mind the requirement gathering. Step 1, you high level, you document the requirement, do the high level solutioning, understand the impact assessment on the system, gap analysis, and then you go ahead with the high level estimation of the project and get a sign off from the customer. So this is the first journey that as a business analyst you will see. And this is what I was referring to, that you have requirement as one journey. And then the second journey is the solution. So I will come to that point of solutioning and requirement together. I will explain you with respect to a different org or different kind of culture or a structure also. But the only thing that you should keep in mind is, during the requirement and the solutioning, is what I said is, a business analyst will be a person who will be hyperactive or proactive, because he is the person who is working on the ground. He or she is the person who is actually gathering requirement and creating a lot of documentations and probably collaborating with different people. So that's where you have to now go through a journey of a solution. From requirement to solution, how do you manage this? Typically, there are companies, okay, in some organization, a business analyst is only expected to work on the requirement, and then the moment this project or this requirement moves to another phase of the project, which is the solutioning, wherein you start creating functional solution or a technical solution or typically a product solution, they can be a different team. They can be a different team. But it is possible that you are a part of such a company who expect you to do this work, not to depend on any other team. So what you are expected to do is, first you understand customer requirement, make our customer happy, sign, and then you make our organization also happy, because you have to bring the money, you have to bring the probably business to the company, and you agree a good number of days and all. Finally, you close the requirement with the customer. The moment you close the requirement, your first phase of your journey is closed here. Now you enter, because in this phase, you are interacting with the external world. It can be your customer, it can be your vendor, it can be any internal stakeholder. So think of it like whosoever is bringing you the requirement, you are going back and forth with them multiple times during this phase. Okay. But in the solution phase, you will be in an isolated mode. In an isolation means like isolated might be for some period of time with the people, those who have given you requirement, but you would be spending more time internally working with different kind of people, different kind of team. Okay. And in the solutioning that I was referring to, like typically either you create BSD. In the beginning, I was talking about different documentations, right? In the solutioning phase, either you create BSDs or you create FSDs, which is business solution document, functional solution document, or probably you're creating some technical specifications. So whatever is required to deliver that requirement to the customer, now you are coming to the fourth WH word. I mentioned 3 WH word you will be using here. The fourth word will come here, which is how. Now, how are you solutionizing it? So you understood for whom it is needed, who is the persona, what is the requirement, and why it is needed. And after that, now you're moving, of course, a little, I would say a small chunk of how is also here, because you're doing a high level solutioning here. Without understanding how, you cannot close this chapter. So ultimately, the majority of the time you spent on 3WH, and then you spent on how in high level solutioning. Now during the detail level solutioning is where you will put too much of stress or the focus on the how part of it. Like how are you going to solutionize this? Okay, if whether it is an API change or a code change, a database change, a parameter change, or it requires probably some basically UX or UI change, and accordingly you will be working on different type of documentation. Either you'll create BSD, FSD, or a technical solution document. Now, now think of it like I told you two journey: requirement and solutioning. Okay. Now I'm assuming that you are a part of such a company where you are doing this requirement as well as solutioning both. If you are not doing this requirement, or sorry, if you are not doing this solutioning, then probably you will hand over your work to some other team. Or if you're doing both, you're doing solutioning as well as the requirement both, then probably you will be handing over again to the development team. So depending on what kind of organization structure and the team org structure that you follow, let's suppose you are in a company who expect a BA to perform requirement and solutioning both, then you will hand over your work to the engineering team in most of the cases. Most of the cases could be possible. There is no engineering team. There is probably a core SME team. Could be possible, those who are responsible for the development or probably for the review of your work. So this is an intersection phase, okay, wherein after this solutioning, you'll have to figure out internally. Probably a predefined process should already be there in your organization. But if you're a part of some startup company, maybe you don't have a very solid, process already defined. Then you have to figure out whom should you interact with, who can take handover from you and start the development or start the next cycle of the product. In some company, you may find that you are handing over to the engineering team. Some organizations have a different role called product managers. So they expect BA to only do requirement plus a high level solution, and then boss, please give it to the product managers. We don't expect a BA to do a detailed solutioning because we consider that maybe a BA is a person who should spend more energy towards the requirement and high level solutioning, because we have maybe a big set of customers. So every day you'll be spending more energy into the requirement and high level solutioning rather than the detailed solutioning, because BA role is tightly coupled with the external world. Could be possible. That's why now you're as a BA, you're spending more time talking to customer every day. Okay. And then the moment your requirement gathering process is done, you from proactive, I said, right, from proactive, you're moving towards a passive state of the product or of the project. Okay. So from high level solutioning, you are giving handover to the product manager. Okay. So once the product manager handover is done, again, the similar kind of role product manager will also do, because all you have done is you have not created a solution. Then product manager has to create a solution, product solution or whatever solution, and then they will hand over to the engineering team. This can be second scenario. Or third scenario, what I told you is like probably you are a solution architect, okay, or you are working in an organization wherein after the requirement plus high level solution, you as a BA, you are either working with the solution architect team or you are working with the core SMA team. So again, in this scenario also, you are not doing a detailed solutioning. So your role is here and it is getting restricted here. But in first scenario, you are doing detailed solutioning also. In second scenario, you're only, again, second and third scenario, you're doing only a high level solutioning. After high level solutioning, you're giving either to the core SME team, solution architect team, or a product manager team. So all you have to understand is just your organization culture, team structure, and accordingly you should perform your duties and your the role that, and then bring the output. Now, how organization structure impacts the BA role, because to be honest, I've already covered it, but still I'll just touch base the three different type of companies. So if you are typically in a product based company, okay, you will see that this will be the case. The second case that I have just now described will be a case typically for a product based company or a product driven company, where as a BA you would be expected only to do work till the high level solutioning, estimation, get a sign off from the customer and give it to the product manager. In technology driven companies, okay, or service based companies, it could be possible that a BA role is widely defined in the organization, and then you are directly working with the engineering team. This scenario, you are directly working with the engineering team. So ultimately, you are working not only on the requirement, but you are working on the high level solution plus detailed solutioning as well. Third company, you will see third different. This is based on my experience only, guys. So you have to just figure it out what kind of situation you are in. So, but I have seen this throughout my career, that I have seen people working as a BA in this arrangement, and even in the third type of arrangement also, where BA is responsible for so many things. So BA role means like it's a customer person, it's a business analyst, it's a solution architect, it's a program manager. This is the thing that I started my discussion in the beginning of the session, right? In some organization, the BA role is defined so widely that you wear multiple hats throughout the probably life cycle of a project. So different org, different culture, but all you need to understand is you as a BA, in most cases, you will definitely do the work till the high level solutioning, getting a sign off. Okay. Now we'll see the next phase also. Of course, when you do the solutioning, okay, the moment, let's suppose you're doing the solutioning. So what is the most important thing in the solutioning is you have to cover different aspects of, as I said, like API changes, code changes, all those aspects that you have to cover in your solution. Now, in addition to it, I can give you a different analogy to think about your solution, like how you are implementing WH boards, right, in your PRDs and in your different type of documentations. Now, when you reach to the solution phase, again, you can use like 3 or 4 different type of analogies, right? Number one is system behavior. First thing you need to think about is what should be the system behavior when you're working on a solution, how the system should behave for this particular functionality. System means the product. Okay. And then the second thing is how the business rules or the domain perspective. Could be possible a product P, okay, handling a functionality in a way that it has 5 parameters. It requires 5 parameters. Could be possible. You're working in a product. At the same time, the same solution, if it is implemented in some other company, some other product, maybe that requires only 2 parameters. So you have to understand your system, you have to understand your product. The next thing you have to understand is the business and the domain. What business says, what domain says. For example, OCT functionality. It says you have to credit the customer in 30 minutes. It says you don't have to wait for the clearing. So what is that? This is a business call. This is a domain call. This comes from either regulatory body or it comes from the probably a Visa, MasterCard, or different kind of regulation, or those who are setting up the regulation for the domain. So you have to understand the system aspect in your solution. You're covering everything, the best possible solution. At the same time, you have to think through the business and the domain. The next thing that you have to again start thinking about in your solution is the performance and the usability requirement. How the system performance will look like, okay, and what kind of user experience it can have. So you should not forget this point also. So when you are thinking about the system performance, okay, although this is something I would say an optional thing for you, but usability is the mandatory for you. Performance is something that the engineer would be worried about it. But if you are a business analyst who can understand this kind of change may require a performance testing, then you're giving a clear impact assessment on the system and you're informing upfront to the engineering team, boss, for this particular change, you have to make sure that you do the performance test. Okay, so if you can do this, this is really good for you. And then you have some edge cases and the exception. Yes, okay. If for this positive case, probably there can be 10 negative cases also. Transaction may get declined, timeout can happen, or probably there can be an error in the header file, or probably the field can be missing. So you have to think about these kind of edge criteria also, and try to cover all these things in your user acceptance criteria. So what you can do is you gave a high level requirement, you gave solution, you gave detail or a high level solution. What next you can do is, okay, boss, if once you deliver this, I would expect all these things to be covered in your final answer or final output. So this is my criteria to accept this development from you. Okay. So this is just one thing that also you should do. Okay. And now probably, once you are done with this kind of role where you yield some results, you bring the output to the table, either in form of documentation or in form of workflows or in form of probably APIs, technical design, or whatever it is. So this is your proactive role where you play. Once this is done, apart from that, as a BA, I was referring to that it is expected normally from a BA to do a lot of stakeholder management or a project management stuff. This is extremely, I would say a very basic thing that any organization or most organization would expect today. Some sort of expectation is there for with respect to the stakeholder management or project manager, even from every single role. But from a BA, I would say it is slightly higher, okay? Because in some cases, BA is expected to create user stories, right? If you're in the agile methodology, right? So you have to create user stories. You have to manage the Jira. You have to be a person who is sending regular updates, okay? So all those kind of things also you might have to do. So it's not just that you are in the requirement gathering, but throughout the project life cycle, the moment you, after solutioning, you are giving it to the developer. Now they are developing it. Then the testing team will be testing it. So during this phase, you also be a little active or at least in a passive mode. Make sure that you're tracking the development, make sure that you have given the required Jira IDs or the the user stories, so that these teams can go ahead with their part and then keep you updated throughout the probably life cycle of the project. So that's the another hat that you have to wear as a BA. Now, again, I did mention like either you have to be an expert of agile or waterfall. You have to be adaptable, to be honest, in both the cases. Like depending, some organization, most organization, I would say, have already moved to agile, but you might still find that many companies are still on the waterfall. So you need to understand the difference between the agile and all. I think it's pretty much straightforward. Agile, you break up like or break down every small pieces of the product. Like if you have a cycle of probably 6 months, you might probably divide the 6 month into a 6 cycles. Okay, like that. Okay, so this is your, it's just a development cycle or different cycle. Then each probably cycle is one sprint, right? So if all you have to understand is the two different project life cycle methodology. Okay, the one is the legacy, which is the waterfall, wherein all different phases of the project is defined. Like we were covering the requirement gathering phase and the solutioning phase, and then in a waterfall method it is getting delivered. So you have to just adopt the culture you are in. Okay, and then if you're in this like kind of agile, then you have to or coordinate with the scrum master very typically, and product owners also. You have to manage the entire Jira, and then this is where daily stand up and all, you have to play a very critical role, that if you have delivered a solution, you should expect people to give you an update. Okay, so you have to be that person who contribute to the delivery as well, and then who contribute to the overall execution as well. It's not just that you contributed to the delivery and then you are gone and done. No. So the next phase is where you be little active or passive, but at least keep tracking the entire life cycle of the project and make sure it goes live. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So again, this is communication, which I just now said. Okay, so every week, either you have to follow the weekly status update or probably, just a minute, someone is there. Yeah. So the status update is like, depending again on the organization, they can be weekly status updates, they can be monthly, they can be daily. So based on the organization role or the structure, if it requires you to provide input to the weekly status, then you have to be that person. But if there is a program manager who takes care of it, then it is not your primary responsibility. Probably a PM will come to you for the inputs, and you will provide the inputs based on the overall tracking. But again, I'm telling you, this phase, you will see a different variations again in this phase. Okay, in some organization, you will be sitting idle. You will be just taking part, you will be participating in those meetings on day-to-day basis. You'll be making sure that weekly status report is going. Okay, but you may not directly interact with the developers and keep asking them what's the development track, what's the development status, what's the testing status. You may not be that person. Okay, but as I said, different organization may have, probably yes, program manager role is slightly different in that in your organization or in your case. Then what will happen? A program manager is handling probably 5 different programs. Okay, he'll say that I am just a program manager of this. I expect people to give me input, and you go and collect input from the developer and the tester. This program manager is sitting here, but he's not reaching out to the developer and tester. Could be possible, but you just need to understand that you have to make sure that you are there in every different phase of the project. If you, the more active you are, I would say the better control you will have on the project throughout the life cycle. Because at the end, who has to respond to the stakeholder, external stakeholder, customer? It's the BA. So if you are not participating actively in this role, even if your organization don't expect you to participate, right? You still can expect input from others, but you have to be that person, be that collaborator who is who just mingle up with everyone and try to make it as smooth as possible. And that's what I can say. Like as a BA, you have to be extremely dynamic, extremely versatile. Okay, that's the BA role is extremely crucial. Different organizations are defining based on their need. Okay, and that's why, because they simply say, many organizations may say that we don't expect you to do a detailed solutioning, but you do a PM role, little bit. So after you give the requirement gathering and high level solutioning, now you are a program manager for us or a project manager for us. So better be that person who collaborate and who stay on top of everything. This brings you more visibility on the project and gives you better control on the overall project. Okay, and then yes, during this during this development and execution and all, of course, you will be probably supporting that on day-to-day basis. If there are any queries, or probably anyone is coming back with a lot of questions and all, what is this requirement? I couldn't follow this. What this solution is? I couldn't follow this, right? So any developer can come back to you. So ultimately, it's not just that your role is probably getting terminated after the requirement, as I said. So you have to provide support to everyone. Whosoever is coming to you, you have to be that person that you continue to provide an ongoing support and continue to play a passive role once the requirement gatherings and all of those things are done. Okay, so you have to make sure that developer is coming to you, you provide. A tester is coming to you, yes, you have to provide that role. So to provide that support. So ultimately, the first phase was, you were active here or proactive here. Now, then you were in a support role or a program manager role, kind of. Think of this way. So how many roles a BA is playing alone? So you were active, you gave solution, etc. Now you're program manager, you are providing support. So once this development is done, testing is done, or whatever it is, now a BA performs another role, is kind of a validator, because you are the one who said, this is my acceptance criteria. This is how customers' requirement will be met, right? So how can I forget this? I'll have to validate it. Okay, show me your test cases. Show me the test results. Show me where is the logs. Show me where is this value which client was expecting. Where is the screen which I told you to develop? Where is the report which I told you to develop? So everything that you have given in the requirement, now you have to be a validator. So these two things are done. Here you are active, here you are passive, here again you are passive. You're not bringing output, but you're validating. After maybe that, you have to provide probably after the validation, you have to provide a demo to the customer, because customer also wants you to explain them what you are bringing on the table for them. They gave you X. Are you bringing X or X minus or X plus? So they may also want to validate it. So this kind of work will also come to the BA in most of the organization, you will see. Now, this is where you are at the last stage. Probably, you validated it, you have gone live. So the moment you go live, BA role doesn't actually, it's not getting stopped till the even, before go live. After you go live also, you will see that for the given requirement, if there is a production issue, this is what I was telling you, the gap analysis, impact assessment is so important, right? So if there was no gap from your side, of course, your project has gone live very smoothly. It's so seamless, no friction at all. And you have done a tremendously great job. There's no production issue. Very hard to say this. Okay, this is an ideal situation which is really hard to achieve. So definitely production issues will be there. So the moment any production issue comes in, yes, there are companies, those who have L1, okay, probably L2, you have L3 support. So these are the support model. So typically is the person who is taking the call. Then the next person is the one who might have created the requirement, can be a BA. Okay, so understand, in some companies, no, directly from L1, it is coming to engineering team or the development team, or probably their support team. There is another support team, those who are providing the next level of support. So depending again on the organization, you should expect that even after you go live, you can receive some calls, some requirements, or some queries from the production support team or operation team that, boss, we implemented this functionality, but now we are facing some issue, and this particular data element, okay, is not coming as expected. So could be possible now. So all I'm trying to say is that you saw the requirement gathering phase, then you saw the next phase is wherein the development was getting done, and probably you provided the support, then you did the validation. Now you're doing the go live support. So this is your customer facing role, requirement gathering. This is your solution role. and or probably a support role, I would say, and then you are validating it, okay, and then finally you are again post go live, you are providing a support, and then in between you're doing a PM role also. So all I'm trying to say is that you have to figure it out what kind of role you are in. But from my experience, I've seen that a business analyst will be there till this point. You cannot leave a project halfway, right? If you have pick up a project, you have understood the requirement, you have given the solution. How can you leave it halfway and you don't know whether has gone live or not? And after go live, was there any problem or not? So typically, this is the life cycle wherein you will see different people, different kind of roles will keep contributing to your business analyst role. So you will be working with the core SMA team, QA team, engineering team, operation team, test. You will be also working with the core SMA team, right? And then finally, you'll be working with the customer, of course, right? So these kind of roles or the people, those who would be defined in any organization, will keep coming to you on time to time basis. So with that, I would just simply put two more slides here, right? One is like, when you're working on any requirement, you have seen the complete life cycle of the BA of a project life cycle, right? So if you are using an approach which is 360-degree, this is also another thing that I always refer in my own theory, in my own work. Okay, I try to deploy that, and it is somehow tightly coupled to the 4WH board that I was referring to. So you have to understand the end consumer perspective as a business analyst. Don't miss it out, because this is your first point. If you miss this, means you cannot go ahead. Okay, so first thing is understand their requirement. If you know the customer better, you will understand their business perspective also. You will not forget their business. You will definitely understand the business requirement, and then you will make sure that you are able to connect to it. So once the business aspect is also done, okay, the second comes to the domain. Whether there's anything wrong from a domain perspective, or am I meeting all the domain requirement here? Are we doing something against the compliance? Are we doing something against the PCI? Are we doing something against the central bank? Okay, so you have to understand those domain perspective also. And the moment you are able to cover these three type of perspective in your work, the last will be the system, which is the most important, last but not the least. Why? Because once this is your requirement journey, again, I would say this is your requirement and high level solution journey. And this is your detailed solutioning journey, support journey, wherein validation journey, and go live journey. So everything has the same view of probably thinking around it, but a different ways to explain it. But if you try to apply this in your daily work, I would say your solution, you will see that most of the time when you deliver it, it would be hard for others to find problems in that. And then your documentation, your solutions will always maybe a part of always an appreciation from the from other people. And if you tightly couple this with WH words, what is needed, why is needed, for whom we are doing it, who is the persona, who is going to use this functionality. Okay, if you try to cover these three, which I was trying to explain you, and then you come to the how. Don't even start thinking about the how. If you are not sure about these three, it means you are not yet there. You should not try to touch the solution unless you know the requirement. If you don't know the problem statement, how can you create a solution? It's just a simple way of looking at it. So if you know the problem statement, then only you start working on the how part of it. So I think we just completed in on time. I know I had to go fast. There were 27 slides, but in 1.5 hours, that's what the best we can do. Probably, I'm happy to take questions after this. I know maybe some of you may have some questions, so I'm really happy to answer if you have. And then probably I'll just speak about a couple of minutes for the training program that I've already launched. Okay, and I think one of my colleague had also sent the training programs in the chat. You can check that. So it's training, as well as I'm also creating card and payment domain training recording sessions also. And I'm working on another project wherein trying to integrate with the card payment domain with the artificial intelligence. That's something coming soon. I might not be able to disclose on the call, but within a day or 2 days of time, you will see that a a project of a kind of artificial intelligence will be launched from me and my team. But yes, now over to you guys. Any question that you may have, I'm happy to take and answer.
Okay, hi Ramesh, Bhargav here.
Yeah,
Ramesh, just want to know like what will be the future of card payments, because like we have new kind of payments, right? Like if you see SIPA in Europe and UPI in India, so will that impact the card payments, and what will be the future for card payments?
no, card payment is not going anywhere. It will be there and always will be there. SEPA and all, it's just the new specifications are coming up. So yes, ISO 8583 will sunset. This is for sure. Like how I think SWIFT and MTI has been migrated to the ISO 2022, or core banking, cross-border payments have already migrated. But in card domain, we are still utilizing the ISO 8583, which is a very old way of managing the specifications and the data layer between different parties or stakeholder, be it acquirer, merchant, issuer, or card network. And it's a legacy system. It's so complicated that it's very difficult to understand ISO 8583. This will go away. I know this, and but it might take another 5 to 10 years of time. Okay. Yes. Now, card as an instrument, if your question, that might get eliminated very soon. You will see that. Tokenization is already there. QR code is there. The underlying rule or the underlying instrument can still be the card. There wouldn't be any change. And trust me, it has never changed. You can see since the inception, your account was there, but how to access your account? Through
Right.
card only, right? So there can be some more instruments being added to the, probably will be added in the future, but for card and payment domain will not move anywhere. Different technology may impact it, but the fundamentals, the foundation layer will still be there. And you might start seeing the, instead of ISO 8583 or a different specification, you'll start seeing that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Kevin, next.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the session. It was very informative. My question revolves around AI, the way it's being integrated in everything.
Yeah.
So what is kind of the risk or the benefit of AI to a BA, to a business analyst?
Okay, so first of all, wherever AI is solving things, okay, you will see that people were saying SaaS is going to sunset soon. But if you have read any article, in everywhere there was always an exception. The exception is given to the banking and financial domain. This is so regulated domain, extremely regulated by multiple entities like, in India, RBI, you have PCI, you have EMVCo, Card Network, Visa, MasterCard, we have TSD2 in the US, right? Similarly, in Saudi, in different part of the world, you have different regulations, right? And it is so sensitive that AI cannot even access that data today, right? If AI cannot blindly access this data, then it means there are limitations to which AI can impact the card and payment domain. So the first area that will get impacted and have already started seeing the impact is the operation. Most of you must have seen this. And in fact, I'm also somehow working in the similar kind of line of directions. And then second area, you will see the reconciliation. Then you will see how the customer acquisition is happening today. This will also get impacted by the AI. But now if you look at the BA role, means the new developments, the new requirements and all. Is AI capable of handling these kind of business specific rules today? The answer is no, because AI works on a probabilistic approach, not a deterministic approach. I posted one article about this, okay, because I've been testing AI into the card and payment domain for last 2 years. Okay, I've never received one structured answer from AI for card and payment. You can try this. It might give you 2 or 3 pages of answer for one simple question, but out of 3 pages, you have to figure out which is the right answer, and that's what the role of BA is. So where are we eliminating the need of BA or anyone who is doing the solution of card and payment domain? No, it's not. But yes, if someone comes up with an idea that, and they create an AI which solves the problem of the customer, which can solutionize, which can understand the patterns, okay, and can build a solution by itself, then yes, then there can be some impact. But again, I'm saying nobody is going to put the product into the AI. All you can put is the domain into the AI. AI cannot handle how TSYS or Way4, OpenWay or Pfizer, FSS products are working today. Are they going to train an AI model on their product? I think the answer may be no for this one. And even if they are planning to do, why would they do that? They would make this easy for their customer to do that, right? So according to me, even if they do it, will be internally in-house done, but it's very hard to say. Okay, explaining that kind of stuff to the AI and making sure that it is giving you a structured answer in a way that can be implemented in a product is very hard to say. Yeah, domain part of it can be sorted out. Probably the domain knowledge, you might see that AIs are getting trained on the domain knowledge. How this Visa work, how MasterCard works, right? How SEPA work, ISO 20 or 22 work. They might be able to know. But how business works, how the product works, I think we are still behind, and AI is still behind in that. So don't worry about it. I don't think so. There will be any impact anytime soon on the card and payment domain or the payment or banking industry. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So any other question? So if no question, probably, I'll, yeah. Yeah, Prabhakaran.
Hi Ramesh, Prabhakaran here.
Yeah, Prabhakaran.
Yeah, I have been working in ISO 8583 predominantly for
Mhm.
some 9-10 years, and you said like it could sunset in 5 to 10 years from now. So
Yeah.
what do you think could replace ISO 8583?
ISO 20 or 22. There's already
Okay.
companies have started working on it. In fact, Card Network also started working on it. They are
Okay.
encouraging the new startup companies, okay,
Okay.
to basically use ISO 20 or 22 instead of ISO 8583 to build their product.
Okay. So is ISO 222 going to be the replacement for both ISO 8583 as well as MTMX messages?
MTMX is already migrated as far as I know in the core banking side. It's already
Okay.
migrated.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So slide.
Yeah, Ramesh. You mentioned that business analysts should have a strong product knowledge, right? I mean, if someone has a deep experience in a specific product like Vision Plus or something, I mean, if he wanted to transition into any of the Way4 or other kind of open way or power card kind of systems, I mean, to handle the BA kind of rules. So how difficult it is to move on? I mean, when we are targeting UAE based organizations where these systems are used.
No, is your question? I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand your question better. Like, are you trying to say trying to change within the organization or from one country to another
From
country?
one country to another country.
Another country.
Yeah.
So I don't think so that will have any, major impact or
I mean,
understanding.
understanding the new product like Way4 or
Yeah, it
OpenWay.
wouldn't be an issue. See, personally, if I'll give you my example, I've been into first company for 5 years. Okay, this is where I learned the domain piece mostly, and I build my interest to learn domain more than a product. So the moment you continue to learn domain, okay, it becomes relatively easier for you to understand the product. Very easy for you. Okay, so if you are into the a role which requires you to do the domain assessment, the role related to BA, solution, okay, testing, all these kind of roles requires heavily relying on the domain piece. Okay, so if you know the domain piece, if you make that extremely strong for you, relatively the product will become easier for you. And then these boundaries of countries or region, it doesn't really matter. It's more or less the same product the same construct is being used in all the products, right? If you are using on a company A or a company B, the domain remains same. Credit card is credit card. So the domain behind that is exactly the same, correct? So it doesn't really matter according to me. You can easily switch and just make sure that you clear the interviews with respect to the domain. Most people will rely on the domain. They don't ask you about the product.
Yeah, Ramesh, thanks.
Yeah. Because I've done these changes in my life. I made 4-5 times. Okay. At least 3 times. And relatively this transition was easy. It was not that difficult. And wherever I transitioned or I switched, basically I switched based on the domain knowledge. All my previous companies, I never worked on the same product. My first 5 years worked on one product, then next couple of years on the different product. So I've never done a switch from one product. For example, one company I'm working, I'm joining a bank under the same product. I've not done this. So, but yes, you have to make sure that your domain piece is strong in this kind of scenario. Because if domain is not strong, the recruiter doesn't have a reason to hire you then. So they will hire you because of the domain in that case. Yeah. Yeah, Naveen. I hope
Yes,
this
sir.
answers your question, Chandra. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Once after the requirements gathering and it turns to the solution, high-level solution design. So here the meaning is as is process to the to be process. That is the solutioning BA is going to do, or it's going to. I mean, like solution design is something related to really technical.
So again, as I said, okay, so technical solution is something that I've never seen any company would expect a BA to do. Okay, but you have to do till the product solutioning.
Yeah, so
Till the product solution.
yeah, I got it, sir. Yeah, actually, since I'm so far I'm not into this payment side. Whatever the domains I have worked, logistics or digital side or payroll HR side. The solutioning part, when deriving this to be process, how to be process can be successfully can be implemented. So we will talk to the senior architects where they will join and see the possibility this solution can be developed, for example, 1 or 2 years. No, this solution cannot be developed in 1 year or something. He's going to advise there are some other features that, other technologies that can help. These are the technologies that we can implement, we can use in the project so that we can achieve the timeline and the efficiency of the product. So in that case, sometimes the customer is nothing but a businessman and he's not sure, he's concerned about the solution, not the technology. So, and he says that these technologies that we don't use. So I don't know, I'm customer is kind of rigid that I don't want you guys to use this kind of technology. So these are the technologies, you use these technologies for the solution design. So that kind of tricky situations happens in regular basis. These things will happen, sir. So that is why I'm asking, like, this similar kind of situation will happen in the payment side. If that is the case, who is going to involve in the discussions? It could be JAD or workshops or
It is happening
any.
most of the time. Yeah, it's happening most of the time. So that's why I said, like, different companies may have an SME team. Okay, so it can be a core team, SME team, or experts team, whatever team it is. Every organization they have their different type of teams structure created. So these kind of tricky situation, you will see that you have to collaborate more. You have to invite more people for a discussion, and then through that discussions only you can make final decisions.
Yeah, sir. Now the point is, this discussion will happen right after the business requirements. When you say solution designing is happening, solution
No, it
business.
can happen
Yeah.
in the high level solutioning also.
Okay.
It can happen in high level solutioning also. You may receive a tricky requirement which our product doesn't support. Okay, so if product doesn't support, you might need help from the the core SME. So even in the high level solutioning, before you go back to the customer, that both your requirement is approved, this is the requirements, give us the sign off. Before you do that, and this is the amount of time and the money we will take from you. Before you do that, you might have to get into this kind of situation wherein you're not able to provide answer, and then you start engaging more experts internally.
Yeah, right, sir. One last question. This is very general question, sir, not related to payments and all. Point is like customer is not comfortable to share all the information in the requirement gathering process. And he thinks that, okay, we have a problem and we invited a vendor to solve the problem. And customer mostly what he thinks is, out of my experience, okay, you are a business analyst and you landed here. And what he expect is, okay, these are the documentation, you solve the problem, which really cannot help a business analyst. So how to handle such customers, like when the customer is not ready to share all the information, it is not his problem. What he thinks is,
this will also happen. This also happen. I'm sorry to cut you down. Yeah, probably you complete your question first.
yeah, so if that's not his problem, he can explain it. But the point is, he is restricted that all the information cannot be shared to any other vendor or something. But the point is, the bottom line is, unless until he don't give the complete information, will not be able to at least advise a problem.
I would say in these kind of scenarios, okay, this is typically happening in a project, okay, where the customer is not clear about the final expectation. Okay. All they have is one statement from a regulatory body to be compliant. Think of this way.
Okay.
If I'm supposed to be compliant, they will say by this and this date, RBI is or saying, or any country's central bank is saying, go live with this change. That time they will say, we also don't have full clarity. We can't give you. So both of them have to work in a collaboration. Okay. Understand this with the help of maybe the regulator, those who are available, understand with the help of card network, those who are available, and then keep on understanding or detailing out the requirement step by step. It's not that on day one you are understanding the full requirement and you're documenting it. No, it never happens. It's a process that will be evolving throughout the project life cycle. Okay, and client will also keep a room for changes.
That's perfectly all right, sir. But the point is how to educate customer without sharing the complete information. I want to tell him that without giving the complete information, we will not be able to complete provide the solution up to as per the business requirements. We have the business requirement. For that business requirement, if I drill down to the functional, to some extent non-functional requirements, and this guy is really reluctant, okay, out of your experience you can do. Otherwise, you go through the library given to you, whatever the SharePoint, you go and you check, okay, you get the solution. But this typically happen in the homogeneous sessions when we are conducting a workshop with all different stakeholders. Like for example, homogeneous is something for holistic approach. If I want to take and I request all different customers, and when we are questioning them, and they are kind of this guy is asking question to me.
No, I understand this. I think I understand your point. I'll tell you, this kind of situation will occur very often. Trust me, this will happen every day, almost in payment industry also. Customer is now giving you requirement from day one, and then you have to understand from their perspective. You have to put yourself into their shoes. So in this kind of scenario, you have to understand and put yourself into the customer's shoes, okay, and then try to get their view why they are not able to provide. First thing, you should be fully aware that if a customer is not providing, there must be a reason. If you continue to push them, they will get annoyed. They will say, this guy is not understanding our situation, and keep pushing the solution on us without understanding the requirement and our situation. So the first thing that you need to go through is that learn from them why is that they are not able to provide this required information, and then work with them. Okay, let's suppose there's an understanding gap of the product. Then be that person who is educating them. Help them understand the product. Okay, help them understand every single nuances of your APIs. If you are doing this job, I'm 100% sure your customer will be able to give you the better requirement. The customer is not able to give the better requirement because they don't understand either the business or the system. But in most cases, you will see customer understand the business, but they don't understand the system. And from system perspective, there can be a gap in their understanding.
Right, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, no problem. So we have more hands up. Maybe, Venkat, you want to go next?
Hi, Ramesh. Thanks for having wonderful session. See, one can techno-functional guy is the same as a business analyst role?
See, techno-functional is term. It's not a designation. Yes, techno-function can be a business analyst. Why not? Techno-function means like someone who is creating a solution. Okay. A product manager can also be a techno-function, right? A product manager can switch to a BA role any point in time. And the same moment, that's what I said during the session. I said you have to create interest. You have to be that person who wants to learn more. You have to be curious. So if you're curious, you can be a techno-functional, you can be only functional, or you can be techno. Yeah, but it's your choice. I think the BA is typically in a techno-function role only. Like, especially when you understand the product, you understand the technologies, okay, you know the database structure, you know the entity relationship diagram, right? You know the product structure, the product integration layer. Then you are understanding the technical integration of your products, right? And you are already a business expert. So functional plus techno, both combining together, you are that person who is already doing a techno-functional role. If you are a techno-functional BA, then definitely people will value more, because you are a person who is not providing only a functional solution to the team, but you are providing bits and bytes of things, right? You're saying, please go and change this API, right? Please go and make this change to the database. So you're making engineers' job easy. So the moment you make others' job easy, this is where they start liking you more than. But a person who only gives, okay, domain perspective, this ISO data element, this clearing flag, or this particular business parameter, please go and update the business rule for this. People may not like this kind of approach, but the moment you are providing a bits and byte of stuff, a technical, integration layer of impact, that's where an engineer finds your solution much easier to understand. They say this solution is explaining me the business functionality well, first of all, and then subsequently it explains me the technicality of my product also. In which function, which table, which API I have to make a change. So ultimately you're giving them a techno-functional mapping very clearly. Product, you're giving domain to product mapping. So this is where they find it very easy, and this is the role of a product manager in many companies. Okay, so many companies, the BA just providing kind of a maybe high-level solution, and after that, product manager takes that and try to give that solution of what engineer wants. But let's suppose if you are bypassing the solution architect or a product manager, it means that you are already a person who is giving a solution which can be directly consumed by the engineering team. So this defines your techno-functional role, according to me.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other question? If there are no questions, I think we are on time. We are exactly on time. So we took 1.5 hours. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks a lot. One session a month is what my plan is. And if any one of you wants to enroll to my training program, you can check the details in the chat, and probably you can enroll to that. Or if you want to enroll to the training recording or videos, even that is also available. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining this call. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Yeah. Thank you for the session, sir. This really helps. Thank you.
Bye.